Diplomatic miscalculation. The Vanguard Alliance's flagship, SS Resilient, hung in the darkness of space, its sleek profile designed to minimize detection across multiple spectrums. Captain Eliza Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the main view screen. The alien vessel approaching was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. Organic curves blending seamlessly with metallic structures, pulsing with an ethereal blue-green light that seemed to flow like liquid through conduits along its hull. "Status report," Chen ordered, her voice calm despite the tension that had settled over the bridge. Commander Jackson, her executive officer, responded without looking up from his console. "The unknown vessel has maintained its approach vector. No weapon signatures detected, but they're scanning us extensively. Let them look," Chen replied with a thin smile. "Active countermeasures are engaged. They'll only see what we want them to see." Humanity had ventured into the stars relatively late compared to other species in the galaxy. After nearly destroying themselves in the resource wars of the mid-21st century, humans had united under the Vanguard Alliance, a coalition of nation-states determined to ensure humanity's survival through expansion beyond Earth. What they lacked in time, they made up for in innovation born of necessity. "Captain, they're hailing us," Communications Officer Patil announced. "Standard transmission protocols, surprisingly compatible with our systems." "Put it through," Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. The view screen shifted, revealing a being with slate-gray skin stretched over an elongated skull. 4 iris-less eyes, each a different shade of amber, blinked independently at her. Gill-like structures pulsed softly at the sides of its neck. "Greetings, vessel of unknown origin." The alien spoke, its voice translated through the ship's AI into a slightly mechanical rendition of English. "I am High Commander Zoril of the Norathi Federation. We come in peace and curiosity." Chen nodded respectfully. "I am Captain Eliza Chen of the Human Vanguard Alliance vessel, Resilient. We welcome your peaceful approach." The alien's head tilted slightly. "Human, we have not encountered your species before. Your presence in this sector is unexpected." "We are relatively new to interstellar travel," Chen admitted, following the diplomatic protocols established for first contact scenarios. "Reveal little, learn much. This mission is primarily exploratory in nature." High Commander Zoril's gill structures fluttered, a gesture Chen couldn't interpret. "Your vessel's configuration is interesting. Our preliminary scans suggest defensive capabilities suited primarily to meteoroid deflection. Is this your first deep space vessel?" Chen caught the subtle condescension in the translator's rendering. The Norathi had already categorized humans as technological infants. "One of many," she replied neutrally, "though each serves different purposes." The Norathi commander's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "We would be honored to exchange technological and cultural information. Perhaps a delegation might visit your vessel. A standard diplomatic procedure among spacefaring cultures." Chen exchanged glances with Commander Jackson, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "We would welcome such an exchange. Security protocols will need to be observed, of course." "Of course," Zorel agreed, the gill structures fluttering again. "We will prepare a delegation immediately." After the communication ended, Jackson moved closer to Chen. "They're underestimating us," he murmured. "Good," Chen replied quietly. "Let's keep it that way for now." 3 hours later, a Norathi shuttle docked with the Resilient. The delegation consisted of High Commander Zoril himself, accompanied by what appeared to be scientific and military advisors. Chen met them in the specially prepared reception area, deliberately designed to appear less advanced than the rest of the ship. "Welcome aboard the Resilient," Chen greeted them formally. "We're honored by your presence." Zoril towered over her, nearly 7 feet tall, his movements fluid and precise. "The honor is ours, Captain Chen. We seldom encounter new species, particularly those who have achieved space travel independently." Chen noted the 4 Norathi advisors scanning the room surreptitiously with devices disguised as ceremonial ornaments, The ship's AI was monitoring every frequency they employed. "We have prepared a limited tour of our vessel," Chen explained, leading them from the reception area. "Some areas remain restricted for security purposes, as I'm sure you understand." "Naturally," Zerl replied smoothly. "All species maintain certain precautions." The tour proceeded through carefully selected areas of the ship. The hydroponics bay impressed the Norathi with its efficiency. The crew quarters, common areas, and medical facilities were deliberately mundane. When they reached the engineering section, however, the dynamic shifted. Chen had instructed Chief Engineer Rodriguez to reveal the ship's secondary propulsion system, outdated by current human standards, but still impressive enough to establish credibility without exposing their true capabilities. "This is your primary propulsion?" asked one of the Norathi scientists, Technician Vress, his tone betraying surprise as he studied the matter-antimatter reactor system. "One of several systems," Rodriguez answered vaguely. "Suitable for most of our needs. The containment field harmonics are unusual," Vress noted, his scanning device humming softly. "Your approach to antimatter confinement differs significantly from Norathi methodology." "Different paths often lead to the same destination," Rodriguez offered with a practiced shrug. What the Norathi couldn't detect was the true heart of the Resilient, a quantum displacement drive hidden deep within the ship, shielded by layers of technology designed specifically to mask its energy signature. Humans had taken a fundamentally different approach to faster-than-light travel, one that didn't create the subspace distortions most other species relied upon for detection. As the tour continued, Chen noticed the Norathi delegation exchanging increasingly frequent glances. Their initial condescension was gradually being replaced by cautious reassessment. "Your life support systems are remarkably efficient," Zerl commented as they observed the atmospheric processing center. "Most young spacefaring species struggle with resource recycling." "Necessity is a powerful motivator," Chen replied simply. The truth, that humanity had nearly exhausted Earth's resources before developing these systems, wasn't something she cared to share. The military advisor, Sub-Commander Krell, had remained largely silent throughout the tour, but his attention had been razor-sharp. Now he spoke directly to Chen for the first time. "Your defensive capabilities seem minimal for a vessel of this size," he observed. "How do you manage security in deep space?" Chen smiled diplomatically. "We find that not being perceived as a threat has its advantages." Krell's upper eyes narrowed. "An interesting strategy, but potentially dangerous. The void contains many predators." "We've managed so far," Chen replied, redirecting the conversation. "Now, would you care to see our stellar cartography lab? We've been mapping this sector and would value your insights." In the cartography lab, the humans displayed star charts that were deliberately incomplete. The Norathi offered corrections and additional information, clearly pleased to demonstrate their superior knowledge of the region. "Your navigation technology seems adequate, if somewhat primitive," Vress noted, examining the holographic display. "However, your stellar mapping algorithms show promise. With refinement, they could approach Norathi standards." Chen nodded graciously, accepting the backhanded compliment while suppressing a smile. The primitive display they were viewing was a carefully constructed facade, running on systems 2 generations behind current human technology. As the tour concluded, the delegation returned to the reception area for a formal exchange of cultural information. Gifts were presented, Earth artifacts carefully selected to suggest a level of technological development that was impressive but not threatening. It was during this exchange that the incident occurred. Araya's voice came through Chen's neural implant, undetectable to the Norathi. "Captain, one of the delegates is attempting to access restricted systems. Deep scan detected in the quantum shielding section." Chen maintained her pleasant expression while issuing silent commands through the implant. Within seconds, the ship's defensive countermeasures isolated and neutralized the scanning attempt, feeding false data back to the Norathi device. "Is something wrong, Captain?" Zerl asked, noting a momentary pause in her conversation. Not at all, Chen replied smoothly. I was just considering your generous offer of navigational data. Such knowledge would be invaluable to our exploration efforts. Sub-Commander Krell shifted his position slightly, and Chen noted with interest that his scanning device had been deactivated. The attempted intrusion had not been accidental. As the delegation prepared to depart, High Commander Zeril extended what appeared to be a formal invitation. The Norathi Federation would be honored if you would bring your vessel to our nearest outpost. We could provide maintenance, supplies, and further cultural exchange. A generous offer, Chen replied. We'll need to consult with our command structure before accepting, but I personally find the invitation intriguing. After the Norathi had departed, Chen called an immediate senior staff meeting. They're reassessing, Commander Jackson stated without preamble. They came expecting to find a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. Instead, they found systems they couldn't fully comprehend. Chief Engineer Rodriguez nodded. Their scan attempted to penetrate our quantum shielding. They were specifically looking for advanced technology we might be hiding. And what did they find? Chen asked, turning to Lieutenant Commander Harper, their security chief. Exactly what we wanted them to find, Harper replied with a tight smile. A tantalizing glimpse of something unexpected, but nothing concrete. They know we're more advanced than we appear, but they can't determine how much more. Chen considered this information carefully, so we've piqued their interest without revealing our hand. The question now is how they'll respond. Their invitation to their outpost is almost certainly a trap, Jackson pointed out. They want a closer look at our technology, or to demonstrate their superiority, Harper added. Show the newcomers who really controls this sector. Chen nodded, her decision already forming. Then perhaps it's time we accept their invitation, with certain precautions in place. Let's prepare a proper response to the Norathi Federation. As the Resilience command crew dispersed to their stations, the Norathi vessel maintained position at a respectful distance. On their bridge, a very different conversation was taking place, one that would redefine their understanding of humanity and set the stage for the next phase of this unexpected first contact. High Commander Zeril stared at the holographic representation of the human vessel, his 4 eyes narrowed in concentration. Update your assessment, Technician Vress. The humans are concealing their true technological capabilities, Vress reported. The energy signatures we detected suggest systems far more advanced than what they showed us. A species that hides its strength, Sub-Commander Krell mused. Unexpected and concerning. Zeril's gill structures fluttered rapidly, a sign of intense thought among the Norathi. Perhaps it's time we showed these humans exactly what they're dealing with. Prepare a suitable demonstration. Calculated response. Captain Chen stood at the viewport in her quarters, staring at the Norathi vessel that had maintained its position for the past 12 hours. The standoff, polite as it appeared on the surface, had entered a critical phase. AI, status update on the Norathi ship, she requested. The ship's AI responded promptly. The Norathi vessel has been conducting regular active scans. They appear to be attempting to penetrate our defensive systems using rotating frequencies. Each attempt has been redirected to the countermeasure protocols as programmed. Chen nodded, unsurprised. And our response? As per your instructions, we've maintained passive monitoring only. Our active countermeasures are functioning autonomously without revealing our detection capabilities. A chime signaled an incoming communication. Captain to the bridge, Commander Jackson's voice announced. The Norathi are hailing us again. When Chen arrived on the bridge, High Commander Zeril's face was already on the main view screen. His expression was difficult to read, but the more rapid pulsing of his gill structures suggested heightened emotional state. Captain Chen, he began formally. We trust you've had sufficient time to consult with your command structure regarding our invitation. We have indeed, High Commander, Chen replied. The Vanguard Alliance is grateful for your offer. We would be pleased to visit your outpost for cultural and scientific exchange. Zeril's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. Excellent. We've transmitted the coordinates. It's a short journey, Perhaps 3 of your Earth days at standard propulsion. We look forward to it, Chen said with a diplomatic smile. We'll follow your lead. After the communication ended, Jackson approached her. They're planning something. The energy readings from their ship have been fluctuating. I know, Chen replied quietly. They're trying to decide whether we're a threat or an opportunity. Let's give them something to think about. She turned to Operations Officer Lieutenant Rivera. Prepare for a controlled systems reveal. Level 2 protocols. Rivera nodded, understanding the instruction. Level 2 protocols would allow the Norethi to detect certain advanced systems, enough to make them reconsider any aggressive intentions, but not enough to reveal humanity's full capabilities. As the 2 ships began their journey toward the Norethi outpost, Chen implemented her plan. The Resilient subtly shifted its power distribution, allowing minimal energy leakage from its secondary defense grid. Just enough to be detected by the Norethi sensors. The response was immediate. The Norethi vessel adjusted its position, maintaining a greater distance than before. They've increased power to their weapon systems, Security Chief Harper reported. Not targeting us yet, but definitely a precautionary stance. Good, Chen replied. They're reassessing. Let's give them more to think about. Over the next 48 hours, the Resilient executed a series of maneuvers that appeared routine, but demonstrated unprecedented efficiency in power usage and navigational precision. Each movement was carefully calculated to suggest capabilities just beyond what the Norethi would expect from a young spacefaring race. The tension peaked on the 3rd day when 3 additional Norethi vessels appeared ahead, taking up formation around what appeared to be a massive space station, their outpost. Tactical assessment, Chen requested as the new ships came into view. Military vessels, Harper confirmed. Destroyer class, based on their configuration and energy signatures. Heavily armed, but their defense systems appear optimized for energy-based weapons rather than kinetic. Chen nodded thoughtfully. They're planning a demonstration of force. Standard procedure when establishing dominance hierarchies with new species. What's our response, Captain? Jackson asked. We accept their invitation with appropriate caution, Chen replied. And we prepare our own demonstration. The Resilient approached the Norethi outpost, now escorted by all 4 alien vessels. The formation was clearly designed to be intimidating, a show of power meant to establish the Norethi's superior position from the outset. As they neared the station, High Commander Zeril hailed them again. Captain Chen, welcome to Outpost Keeler. Before you dock, we would like to demonstrate some of our defensive capabilities. A standard protocol for visiting vessels. Please maintain your position while we conduct a brief exercise. Of course, High Commander, Chen replied graciously. We understand the need for security protocols. What followed was clearly choreographed to impress. 2 of the Norethi destroyers performed a series of intricate maneuvers, their propulsion systems leaving visible energy trails through space. Then, from the outpost itself, a massive energy beam lanced out, striking the small asteroid that had been positioned nearby. The asteroid disintegrated instantly. Impressive, Chen commented when Zeril returned to the communication. Your energy projection capabilities are quite advanced. A standard defensive measure, Zeril replied with false modesty. Now, if you'll proceed to Docking Bay 7, we've prepared appropriate accommodations for your crew. Before we dock, Chen said, our own protocols require a reciprocal demonstration. With your permission, of course. Zeril's gill structures fluttered rapidly, a sign of surprise or possibly concern. Such demonstrations are not typically expected from visiting species. Nevertheless, Chen insisted politely, it's our way. Perhaps you could designate a suitable target. After a brief pause, Zeril indicated another small asteroid. That would be acceptable. Chen nodded to Weapons Officer Lieutenant Commander Miyazaki. Kinetic response package. Minimal yield. Kinetic package ready, Captain. Miyazaki confirmed after a moment. Execute. To the Norethi observers, what happened next must have seemed almost anticlimactic. No visible energy beam erupted from the Resilient. No conventional projectiles were launched. Instead, a barely perceptible distortion rippled from the human vessel. When it reached the asteroid, the space around the target seemed to fold inward momentarily before the asteroid collapsed in on itself, imploding rather than exploding. Silence hung on the bridge for several seconds before Zerl spoke again. "An interesting approach, Captain. May I ask what technology you employed?" "A localized space-time compression field," Chen explained, deliberately simplifying. "We find it energy efficient for debris removal." The truth was far more complex. The quantum displacement technology that powered the Resilient's faster-than-light drive had been adapted into a defensive weapon system capable of manipulating the fundamental forces binding matter together. What the Norathi had witnessed was merely the most basic application of this technology. "I see," Zerl replied, his tone now considerably more respectful. "Please proceed to Docking Bay 7. I will personally greet your delegation." As the Resilient carefully maneuvered toward the designated docking bay, Commander Jackson moved closer to Chen. "That got their attention," he murmured. "It was necessary," Chen replied quietly. "The Norathi respect strength. Now we can negotiate as equals rather than as curiosities." The reception that awaited them in the Norathi outpost was markedly different from what might have occurred before their demonstration. High Commander Zerl was accompanied by a formal delegation of senior officials, and the ceremonial greeting had all the hallmarks of one extended to a respected power rather than a developing species. "Captain Chen," Zerl began, his voice carrying through the vast docking bay. "On behalf of the Norathi Federation, I welcome you and your crew to Outpost Keeler. We look forward to a productive exchange of ideas between our peoples." "Thank you, High Commander," Chen replied, matching his formality. "The Vanguard Alliance values this opportunity for mutual understanding and cooperation." As the initial ceremonial exchanges continued, Chen noticed a subtle shift in the Norathi behavior. The thinly veiled condescension had been replaced by genuine curiosity and, more importantly, caution. During the tour of the outpost, the Norathi were far more forthcoming about their own technology than they might have been otherwise. Chen recognized this for what it was, a reassessment of humanity's place in their understanding of the galactic hierarchy. The pivotal moment came during a private meeting between Chen and Zerl in what appeared to be his personal command center. The room offered a spectacular view of space through a transparent section of the outpost's hull, the Resilient visible in the distance. "Your ship's capabilities are unexpected," Zerl stated directly, abandoning diplomatic circumlocution. "Our initial assessment of human technology was clearly inaccurate." "Different species develop along different paths," Chen replied. "Humanity's journey to the stars was shaped by specific challenges that required creative solutions." Zerl's 4 eyes focused on her intently. "The Norathi Federation controls significant territory in this sector. We have encountered many species in our expansion, but few have demonstrated such advanced technology, with so little apparent experience in space. Perhaps," Chen suggested, "it would be beneficial for both our peoples to establish formal diplomatic relations. There is much we could learn from each other." "Yes," Zerl agreed, his gill structures pulsing slowly now, a sign Chen had come to associate with thoughtful consideration. "But I must be direct, Captain. The Norathi Council will want assurances regarding humanity's intentions in this sector." "Just as we would require similar assurances," Chen countered smoothly. "The Vanguard Alliance seeks peaceful exploration and mutual benefit through trade and exchange of knowledge. We have no territorial ambitions in regions already claimed by other spacefaring civilizations." "And your military capabilities?" Zerl pressed. "The technology you demonstrated suggests applications beyond mere defense." Chen met his gaze steadily. "The same could be said of your own capabilities, High Commander. Perhaps the most productive path forward is mutual respect based on the understanding that both our peoples are capable of defending their interests should the need arise." A moment of silence followed as Zerl absorbed her words. Then, in a gesture Chen hadn't seen before, he pressed his four-fingered hand against his chest in what appeared to be a formal salute. The Norathi Federation acknowledges the Vanguard Alliance as a sovereign power, he declared. I will recommend to the Council that we establish formal diplomatic relations immediately. The remaining days at the Norathi outpost were dedicated to establishing the groundwork for future cooperation. Technical teams from both sides engaged in limited exchanges of non-sensitive information. Cultural briefings were conducted. Preliminary trade agreements were discussed. Throughout it all, Chen maintained the delicate balance of openness and reservation that had served humanity well since its first ventures beyond the solar system. The Norathi, for their part, had abandoned their initial approach of technological superiority in favor of more equal exchanges. On the final day, as the Resilient prepared to depart, High Commander Zurl presented Captain Chen with a data crystal, a traditional Norathi gesture of respect. This contains navigational information for safe passage through Norathi space, he explained, and star charts for regions beyond our territory that may interest your explorers. A generous gift, Chen acknowledged, presenting in return a similar data storage device. This contains cultural and historical records from Earth. We believe understanding each other is the foundation of lasting peace. As Chen prepared to board the shuttle that would return her to the Resilient, Zurl offered one final observation. You know, Captain, when we first detected your vessel, we expected to find another developing species to guide, perhaps to protect. It seems instead we have found equals. The galaxy has become more interesting. Chen smiled. The universe seldom conforms to our expectations, High Commander. That's what makes exploration worthwhile. Back aboard the Resilient, as the ship disengaged from the Norathi outpost and set course for the designated rendezvous with other Alliance vessels, Chen reflected on the significance of this first contact. Message from Vanguard Command. Communications Officer Patel announced. They're requesting a full report on the Norathi Federation and your assessment of potential relations. Tell them, Chen replied, watching as the stars streaked past on the view screen, that humanity has found its place among the stars. Not as newcomers to be patronized, not as conquerors to be feared, but as innovators to be respected. She paused, then added, and informed them that the galaxy just got a lot more interesting. Commander Jackson, standing nearby, allowed himself a small smile. Not bad for a species that was still fighting over fossil fuels a century ago. We had good motivation, Chen replied. Nothing drives innovation like survival. The Norathi and others evolved their technology gradually, over millennia of stability. Humanity had to compress that development into decades. As the Resilient accelerated to quantum displacement speeds, leaving the Norathi outpost far behind, a new chapter in galactic politics had begun, one in which humanity would play a far more significant role than anyone, human or alien, might have predicted. In the vast communication networks of the Norathi Federation, a simple message propagated from outpost to outpost, eventually reaching the distant homeworld. New species encountered. Designation: human. Technology assessment: Class A approach with respect.